Hi, so I'm Katherine Priddy, and I am joined here today by the legendary Peggy Seeger. This is my first kind of foray into interviewing, although I've had lots of conversations in the past. But yeah, I just thought we'd have a little chat today and talk about all sorts of things. So, Peggy, how are you, first of all?
I'm fine. And if you've been interviewed a great deal yourself, you probably will know how to interview someone else.
We shall see. We'll see. I feel like, first of all, we can't go without talking about lockdown. How have you been finding it?
Well, I've been in a kind of mental lockdown most of my life. I'm uh, for the last more or less 30 years, I've concentrated on my own career and as a solo singer.
Mhm.
I practice every day. I learn new songs. I don't have a large network of friends, which I really feel bad about, but that's the way it is. I have 3 or 4 friends, but they're mostly in America. Um, so I'm not doing badly with lockdown. I walk every day. I don't go to any shops. I have 4 people who on rota go
Okay.
shopping for the poor old lady.
Oh, so you're feeling, but that's good. At least you're feeling safe, I
Oh
suppose.
yeah. Oh gosh, yes, yeah, yes. Well, until you die, you think you're invincible.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite true. You
Mhm.
say you practice every day when it
Oh
comes to
gosh, yes. Don't
wow.
you?
See, I find it hard to motivate. Well, I was going to ask actually. Certainly during lockdown, I found it quite hard to motivate myself to pick up my guitar and to practice and to be creative. But obviously, you haven't been having that same problem.
Well, after the age of about 78, my hands began to stiffen up.
Mhm.
And on one of them, I have an arthritic finger, which is really bad. And it has immobilized a lot of my right hand. So I have to keep these other fingers in some kind of um, practice every day. If I go 2 days without playing, it will take me 15 or 20 minutes even to start playing again. That's what happens, you just stiffen up your muscles. Yeah.
Just to look
So,
forward to, have I?
well, I've practiced every day for almost all my life. Almost all my life I have. So it's gotten to be such a habit, and I can't pass the guitar without picking it up.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does distress me that I can't play as well as I used to, but then you shouldn't expect to. Women, I do believe, reach our physical peak at 29. I don't know how old you are.
Okay. I'm 25, so
Uh,
that's good. I've got a
there
few
you
years.
go. You got 4 years to go. Men hit theirs at about 19, their physical
Oh,
strength, utter and complete strength. But I have this feeling that women get better as we get older because a lot of the strength goes to our heads, our hearts.
okay.
And anyway, that's me rattling on. What
No,
would you?
no, no, no. It's interesting. I think maybe I need to start trying to introduce a bit more discipline into my musicianship, possibly.
Well, take away a lot of the words. Say I will rather than I should or I need. Just say
Okay.
I will. And if
Yeah.
you don't, then you can beat your head over your head with a wet squirrel if you want. But yeah,
So when it comes to actually writing songs as opposed to just practicing them, do you have a particular process that you go through with that?
I'm kind of in solo writer's block.
Okay.
I have a new album that was supposed to come out with my May tour, which was canceled, 26 dates, totally wiped out till next May.
Yeah.
But the CD is sitting there ready. It's all ready. I mean, ready to be processed and everything. So we'll probably bring it out in January.
Okay, that's
And
exciting.
I think, 6 of the solo songs are mine, and the other 5 are written with other people, with my 2 sons and my daughter-in-law.
Lovely.
So I've been writing with my sons and my daughter-in-law, which takes me out of my box.
Yeah.
One of the problems, Catherine, with being involved with folk song all your life is that on the one hand, I mean, I don't know how much you actually know about my life. I've written a memoir, but I don't know if I'm talking to someone who read it. On the one hand, I had a classical education, a very good one. And on the other hand, I had folk music where I heard the actual folk singers, not somebody who heard a folk singer, who heard a folk singer, who heard a folk singer. No telephone line there.
Yeah.
So I was brought up listening to the real folk who made up the songs. So I have those two very definite disciplines.
Yeah.
So in the past, for the most part, I've gone to ideas gleaned from folk music, because for 30 years I played without the piano. I was a piano player at one point. So my songwriting kind of veered towards the simple harmonies of folk music and the simple rhyme schemes of folk music. But I started playing with my present partner. Her main function is catalyst. And she got me to playing the piano again. And so playing the piano immediately brought out a whole classical side of me that I've started to use. And so the next CD is very interesting. It's very interesting. It's a bit dark, but it's mostly about my life in various ways. There's a bit of humor in it. I don't know what question I'm answering here, but songwriting, I think it's back to songwriting. So for some reason, I am not writing songs solo.
Okay.
I don't know why. I'm not beating up on myself. I'm just saying that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah. Okay.
I mostly practice songs I know already, or I go through my past rest in peace repertoire and just pick up songs that I used to sing.
I think the collaborative side of things is important, actually, because I know I've been considering maybe trying to do some more collaboration with other people. I've been feeling a little bit as though I keep playing, when I'm trying to write songs at the moment, it feels like I keep returning to the same chords and the same kind of melodies. Whereas I'm hoping that if I tried to write something different with someone with other ideas, it would help.
Do it. It's, if you're beginning to feel that you're going to the same chords, I went to the same chords for 50 years and never felt there was anything wrong with it. But if you're feeling there's something wrong with it, then that's a very mature thing at your tender age.
At my tender age, yeah. I think as well, being in lockdown, I've been sitting with my guitar on my own for a fair bit, so I think maybe I'm just getting bored with myself, possibly. But
you live alone?
I just moved out. I was with my parents for most of lockdown, but my dad is also very vulnerable, so he's been shielding. So I've now moved out to a house share so that I can feel like I'm not endangering him if and when gigs do start again.
Good.
That's a whole other question, is it? Is when we think we're going to get back to normal touring and gigging.
I'm not sure there'll be a normal again. I think that, well, I don't know why in the past the plagues just died down.
Yeah.
It killed a whole stack of people and then just died down. That would seem to be what happened. And we are stopping it from doing that by not letting it kill all the people it wants to kill. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't paying attention to the rules. I know, because I go for a walk every day and I have to step way off the pavement because there's a whole phalanx of people coming towards me who don't wear masks and who hog the path.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating, isn't it?
It's very. So as long as we have that kind of individual sense of entitlement by anybody, and unfortunately it's trickled down from the top, there's entitlement right from the top. And it comes right on down, so we think we have it at health level. But lockdown, you're not actually locked down if you're in a household of people. No. I hope you're behaving yourself at your age.
And that was a funny thing, going from being in my parents, where we were in total lockdown because of my dad, and then moving out to living with other people. And having to kind of be aware that I can trust myself and I know what safety precautions I'm taking.
Yeah.
But it's then having to trust those other people as well. I'm finding that.
Are any of your housemates musicians?
They're not. No, they're not.
Very wise.
Very wise. Yeah, I know.
Because I think it was Schumann. Was it Schumann who was a piano player and composer, and his wife Clara was a fantastic piano player. And they fell in love and they married. And when they married, he didn't want to hear her practicing in the house. He said one one musician in the house is all we need. And she stopped playing.
Oh,
I mean, what?
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
No, well, it would be hard if you were, say you were in the house of a fiddler and he practiced 2 hours a day. How would you feel about that? But anyway, let's get back to your songwriting.
Yeah.
With an experience from me is I found that working with my sons, who are both beautiful guitarists and songwriters. My daughter-in-law writes songs, but not a lot, but she is very classically trained. Mm-hmm. Writing with them hauled me out of my box.
Okay.
Wow, it hauled me out of my box. Yeah. The last CD that I made called Everything Changes, I mostly wrote songs with my son Callum and my daughter-in-law Kate St. John. Didn't write with my other son. Mm-hmm. And coming out of the box was amazing. I found that, let's put it this way, my box has a number of corners, but a lot of the experiments that I've made, that if you were somebody writing something serious about me, I'm not saying this is not serious, because it is, but if you were writing something that had to really talk about how I have written in the past, I've written things that are so classically sounding you wouldn't believe it. One about RSI, repetitive strain injury, one about plutonium factor, one with an argument of a mother with her teenage daughter, which is quite funny, and things like that. And I've written them and gone way out of the folk. So I veered over like that. Yeah. The sad sign of it is that sometimes when I write a new song that's like the folk, you cannot hide your classical education. It's there. Mm-hmm. So working with other people and learning how to honor and to acknowledge anything that they suggest and try to work with it. Yeah. I've only worked with my sons and my daughter-in-law, but they know what kind of stuff I already do. And they also have to keep in my good books because I'm a hard old lady. But if you're working with somebody that you don't know what they're like, in a way, you have to establish a relationship of how you're going to do this. Yeah. What my sons, for the most part, because they were in folk music, they understand the disciplines and the way folk songs are made, and the way language and in speech and language in music work. If you're going to sing it, they know how to focus. They know how to chop out good lines because they don't work in the song. With my daughter-in-law, it was very, very different. She didn't have the folk thing. What she had was a classical education, which was absolutely phenomenal. But we had to learn how to work together. But fortunately, I had worked with my sons and they'd torn a strip off me for being too bossy. So by the time I got to working with Kate, I learned how to say, well, how about this? Well, how about that?
I think it's a bit of compromise when it comes to collaborating.
Yeah, and there were lines that she made that I didn't like. There were lines that I made that she didn't like. Yeah. And then you'd work out how they would fit into the whole thing. Okay. So the 3 songs that I've written with her, I am just absolutely delighted with. One about her mother who had dementia. Mm-hmm. One about the women who come from abroad and end up cleaning our houses and working as key workers and not getting paid for it and having to leave their own homes. And the third one about a teenage suicide. Mm-hmm. So these are all songs that at least one of us has had personal experience with. So writing with Kate. So you have to choose, I think, in a way, if you're really thinking about writing with other people. And I think it's a fantastic thing to do. I've only had one failure, somebody that I tried to write a song with, and we were on such different pages that we both gave up. We said, look, this isn't working. And it's not an insult to either. It means that you're just on different pages.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. So yeah, I suppose there's always going to be an element of compromise in a collaborative process. Yeah. I suppose that will push you outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
mean, is there anyone that you would still like to try writing a song with that you haven't already? Is there anyone in particular?
Well, the difficult thing is I'm in lockdown now.
Yeah, of course.
I have to be in the same room with the person.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could do it by Zoom.
No.
You know, I was looking at the texts of your songs. Your songs are very dark.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, yes, and and I find the changing focus right through them. I was listening to Traveling Man last night, and your guitar works lovely. Absolutely, it is you playing the guitar because I couldn't see your hand on it.
No, it is me playing guitar.
Lovely, really lovely. And I'm trying to figure out what the focus is. Where is this song going? And after the first verse, I think it's going here. But then in the second verse, it's going here. And in the third, it's a bit scattered. But then that's my folk music, you know.
That's probably my brain as well, slightly scattered, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So it would be very hard to write a song with you, but it would be very, very interesting. It would be interesting because you have some lovely lines and they're really, really lovely. Yeah.
You said your tour it was May, wasn't it? You were supposed to be doing your tour.
Mm.
Has that been cancelled?
Oh, totally. Oh,
was it being postponed?
It's been put through to next May and it's been planned, but okay. I don't know if we'll be past this. I think they're juggling as to whether to sacrifice the economy or the potential victims.
Yeah, yeah.
And I very much fear that, like America, they're just writing off a whole lot of people because to Trump the economy, and both of them are tanking, the deaths and the economy. I don't feel hopeful about my native country. But I don't know how far the British people, and I still think Britain, I like to call it Britain, is trying to figure out how not to sacrifice either. And I'm not sure it's going to be possible.
And we're kind of having to plan, aren't we, anyway, because what else can we do? We're having to plan that things will go ahead next year, but there's no real way of guaranteeing that they will, I suppose.
So what's happened to your gigs?
That's a very good question. I had a lovely busy diary this year, but by about the beginning of March, that had completely emptied. I was due to have 2 gigs this month. However, I woke up to the news this morning that they're limiting it back down to 6 people again. So I imagine that they will be cancelled now.
Are you doing online performances?
I was going to ask you about this. I did a couple of live streams right at the beginning, which I really enjoyed. I noticed you've been quite active on the live stream front as well.
I had to learn how to do it.
I think it was a big learning curve. We went from being musicians to having to become IT technicians and camera operators overnight.
Well, I wasn't a camera operator. I just turned on the laptop and got myself a decent microphone.
There we go. But how did you find the live streaming? Did you enjoy doing it, or?
Once I started, but the preparation is interesting, and noticing the background. You've got a nice background there, and in my first couple, I didn't have a good background, and I learned to watch the entire 20-minute stream that I made before I agreed that was the one that was going to be sent out. And it's lucky because on one of them I have a guitar position and I have a piano position, and the piano is up against the wall and the guitar position is out in the room, so they have different backgrounds. Right. And I have to lift the laptop from one to the other because I'm on my own. I don't have anybody with a microphone standing there. So I discovered when I was looking through it that when I lifted the laptop from the guitar position over to the piano, it was on my boobs for the whole time. I thought, what? You know, and I had to do the whole thing again because I can't edit. I can't edit.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Do you think because I've been trying to work out whether this new technological side of things will be sticking around, even if, say, we do go back to normal and we can gig and tour again come next summer. Do you think an element of this live streaming will remain?
You bet. I'm sure it will. And I think, especially with somebody like you who is willing to jump in and really make films and do, because your films work. And those eyes, well, somebody commented on it in one of the comments, those eyes. But you have someone who can help you with and if you have that and are willing to embrace all of the new things as they come up, which at your age you will do, undoubtedly. You're at the beginning of your career.
I have to, right?
Yeah, well, you don't not only have to, but well, if that's the way you look at it, you might not do as well as you. There's got to be an element of want to,
Oh no, yeah,
of excitement in it,
no.
because there's things that you can do, uh, and art forms that you can pull on, ideas. So getting ideas and talking to other people about how to do this,
Yeah.
it's a wonderful thing. If my sons lived here and worked with me, my videos would be stunning, because my daughter works in graphics. Both of my sons record, and they both know how to edit. And now my other son knows how to edit videos. They're learning, even though they're in their 60s. My daughter's just coming up for her 50s shortly. So I have the people who will help, but I'm on my own, and I do not live near my kids, and I wouldn't pull them in on that anyway. But I think that the live streaming, to answer your question, I think this is going to be something that comes with not going back to the office. I think it's going to be something that engenders new art forms and new ways of dealing with photographing ourselves, new ways of recording ourselves and working with the recordings. I made a little video called Donald's in the White House. And it's just 1 minute long. And it's scatological. It takes a children's dirty song and changes it into one about Trump.
Did you play that at Boise Folk Festival? Did you?
I probably did, but I didn't play the souped up version of it, where we changed my voice into what sounded like, the humpback that climbs the Notre Dame. That's terrible. He probably had a lovely voice. That's very, very bad. I'm trying to think of who, maybe a Frankenstein character. I have no idea. But I just changed the voice, and it immediately changed the nature of the whole thing. I may have had to pull that off, because I'm not too sure if it's still on YouTube. Donald's in the White House, because I may have used one photograph that was copyrighted and didn't know about it. We shall see. I'm not sure if we did.
Another side of this live streaming thing, I suppose you've got a fan base spread across both sides of the Atlantic, and I suppose if you're gigging in the UK, could that now be potentially streamed over to the US as well? Does this mean we can?
Well, it is. The live streaming things that I did the 10 ones, Peggy at 5 on Sunday, 10 of those, each about 20 minutes long. And that was just put up on YouTube. You can get those.
I mean, like, moving forward, and when we do begin to play in venues again, we could have, say, 100 people seated here, but then it could be also streamed to people in the US.
Yeah, that takes an awful lot of really good photography and miking. Yeah. Especially as now, it would work for you if you're on your own, but if you're working with your musicians who are in that four ones who are playing with you. I only play with one of my sons now. I don't do any solo work.
Really?
Solo concerts. No, it's not that I can't do them once I get there. It's that getting there and doing all of the work of setting it up and dealing with it, unless I take my daughter-in-law, who's also my manager. But I don't know. I don't know. I think that's going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
But you're at the beginning. You don't know where you're going. You don't know how far you're going.
No, I'm just trying to
Uh,
have fun, really. See
yeah.
what happens.
Well, I think responding to the people who criticize what you do rather than the people who praise what you do.
Okay.
It's easy to be carried away by praise.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy. And there will be people who are are nasty. There's an element of over criticism in this country. I think in America, among the from what I remember of the artistic section, there's less backbiting than there is with people than there is.
I was going to say, have you found much difference in the way that music is received and appreciated across both sides of the Atlantic?
I can only speak from my personal
Hmm.
interreactions with people, but believing everything that everybody says of you, learn in a way to figure out who it is that you will take advice from or help from.
Yeah.
It's easy to be stung by
Okay.
people who say nasty things. Although I didn't see any nasty things, I didn't see any on your comments, which was very nice.
But I feel like the kind of the more you play and the bigger your audience becomes, the more that's going to happen. You will get people who
Yeah.
say bad things. So I kind of wanted to talk to you as a young woman in music. I kind of wanted to ask what your experiences were when you first started out as a young woman, and how you think we've progressed since then, and what is still left to be done when it comes to kind of making young women feel included and supported in the music industry, and I guess specifically the folk scene as well.
I had a huge advantage. I was in folk music, and I had my last name was the name of a folk music family in America. My brother Pete was considered the father of the American Revival. He became the grandfather and then the great-grandfather of the American Revival. And the name Seeger is immediately associated, and back then was immediately associated with folk music. So I came with that. And I came to this country with the best advantages I could possibly have. It was within 11 years of the end of the war, and people had discovered that they wanted to make music themselves. They didn't want it piped in from Tin Pan Alley, what was known as Tin Pan Alley back then, and then Denmark Street. I don't know what they call it now. But we are mostly consumers of music in this country, not creators of music on a mass basis. Millions of people walk around listening to what other people create. They don't go home and start writing them themselves, which is very sad in a way. If you hear enough of what other people create, you think, well, what can I do? Who am I? I'm just little old me. So I came with a long neck banjo, which nobody over here had seen. I was 20. I had long hair, and I was adventurous. I immediately latched in with one of the major collectors of the time of folk music, who was living over here, Alan Lomax, who knew all the radio people and wanted to make me part of a group that he had organized. That's how I turned up in this country. I immediately bought a Lambretta scooter and became, the woman with the banjo over her back. And I had these advantages. And also the fact that I was fearless. I took risks. There was not much competition. There was almost no competition. There were no other American girls turning up playing banjo and guitar and singing songs that they were already singing in the skiffle movement. I don't know if you know about the skiffle movement.
Not massively, no.
Well, learn about it. You'll learn a lot from it, because in a way, what is it that you want to create? I didn't write songs back then. I didn't write them. I latched onto a man who was 20 years my senior, my first life partner. We worked together for 30 years. And he and I worked together perfectly, excellently. Without him, I don't think I would have become a songwriter. I don't think I would have done a lot of the things I've done. And I could say the same with my second partner, a woman, also 30 years. I've been lucky to have 2 life partners. But I latched onto him, and we became a basic duo. I had every opportunity. Now you're at a time when there are a lot of creative women wanting to write songs. You have tremendous competition.
Yeah.
Huge competition. So you have to be different. You have
I think you're right. And
you have to be different and say, what is it that I can do that so far no one else is doing? It isn't enough to be beautiful, to have long hair, to play the guitar, which I had all those. I wasn't beautiful, but I was good looking. And to have all those things that a number of other women girls have, because you're still a woman girl until you're 30, you know, and then you become a woman, I think. Although that's just, it's numbers. We create the numbers. So in a way, this is what Madonna did when she wore the metal breasts. And this is what Amy Winehouse did when she just was so outrageous. And I don't mean you have to do those, because those, you don't want to be like that.
I'm not sure how well that would go down in the folk scene either if I started walking around with metal boobs. I don't know if
Yeah, well, in my terms, you're not a folk singer. You are a songwriter.
Yeah, no, I agree actually.
Now, folk singers sing folk songs, and your songs are all your own. So you are an original. Many folk singers are not. So you're an original. So figuring out what it is that you have to offer that nobody else does. And I think often we need other people to tell us. And we need other people whose work you really admire to say, look, I mean, I don't know how big your fan base is. I mean, somebody got a fan base with doing this. You can get a fan base easily by it. I have no idea how people do it. And I don't know if you've seen the video of the bats dancing upside down.
I have seen that video.
Now who would dream that would get millions of viewers? Now, I'm beginning to think that in order to be famous, you have to do something that goes against your own development.
That's interesting.
Which means you have to ask yourself, why am I in this at all? What have I got to offer that's different other than my own desire to shine? Because the desire to shine yourself is big in anybody who goes up on stage. Our egos are big. We may not think they are, but they are. Our egos are large. And we try to hide them with modesty and with all kinds of things that we do. But it's, in a way, it's easier to hide your modesty with folk songs because somebody else has already created everything that you're singing. But so looking into yourself and figuring out, what is it that I really want to say? Are my songs talking about who I am? I was intrigued by you smashing things in Wolf, because I rather liked a couple of those statues, and I thought, why is she doing that? Why doesn't she give them to some charity shop and make some money for them? Why is she smashing them? And I still don't know why you were smashing them. I mean, goodness knows, I don't know what, you can buy some glasses and smash those. Why did you choose lovely things? I'm interested. They weren't lovely, but they were interesting. They would be interesting to somebody who, and who knows, maybe one of them was worth a lot of money and you didn't even know it.
I'll regret that forever. They were from a charity shop, funny enough. We did buy those from a
there's a guy who recently bought a first edition of one of the Winnie the Pooh books. He bought it for 50 pence and he sold it for 10,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, and gave the charity shop almost nothing. But so why? So that's why what attracted me to that. Because when I was doing my homework on you, because I thought, why is this lovely young woman smashing things? What is there that, you know, because the song to me had two focuses. It was for the guy and against the guy, for the guy and against the guy. And this has been a women's problem forever.
Yeah.
You know? And so maybe he was mistreating you, but I never got why you.
Well, I think part of that was we're talking about kind of doing something different, and part of the reason we ended up doing something like that was because I felt, you know, maybe this isn't the case, but I felt like there is an expectation in the kind of the folk scene and in the singer-songwriter scene, which has that sound, to for that kind of a music video of you walking through a wheat field with a guitar and a long dress and all that kind of thing. And I did really, really, really wanted to kind of do something that was just the antithesis of that. I didn't want to be walking through a wheat field gently strumming my guitar, you know. So
Yeah.
part of that video was purely just to kind of put two fingers up at that expectation and do something.
Well, you caught my attention with it.
Well, there we go. See, it wasn't.
Then I was saying why, and what I realized was that it was a very angry person who was writing this song.
Well, yeah.
And yet you didn't look terribly angry when you were singing it. So,
no.
you know,
Yeah.
so there's
great fun smashing those things as well.
Yeah, well, that's good. You know, you've created something that people are intrigued with.
Yeah.
So keep.
I do think there is that expectation on to be these kind of flower maidens and things, which I'm really not. I'm really not that sort of person. I don't want to have to feel like I have to fulfill that in order to build my fan base and get booked for folk festivals, you know.
Yeah.
But maybe that isn't the case. Maybe I'm putting that on. I don't know.
Well, it'll be interesting watching where you go, what you do.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think I feel a little bit stuck at the moment until we can start gigging again. I also have a CD that's sitting there ready to go, but.
So when you gig, do you gig with a group?
Sometimes I gig solo because I find it logistically a bit easier and cheaper to kind of just get on a train and turn up myself. But I've started recently gigging with another guy called George Boomsma, who accompanies me with, he does kind of atmospheric guitar and harmonies, and it just kind of builds the sound a little bit.
And other gigs, are you the lead person, or are you supporting other people?
It depends. I've done some lovely support gigs, but I've also done some really nice headline ones as well. So
how long are your sets?
For the headline ones, sometimes they're 2 times 45 minutes. Sometimes they're just an hour.
Okay.
But no, I miss gigging. I do miss gigging. I don't think live touring is ever going to replace that, is it?
That's our egos. We like.
I know.
Like to be out there.
It's funny when I don't know about you, but when I go and watch live music now, I've found myself when I'm sitting in the audience, I can be really enjoying the music, but there'll be a little part of me that goes, "But I want to be up there. I want to be singing."
Do you find yourself critical of how what they're doing?
It's not so much critical. I find myself, I certainly analyze their stage kind of performance now, and I find myself thinking, "Oh, that's good. Maybe I could try doing that," or I wouldn't do that myself. I think you do begin to critique other performances more.
It's important to write those things down.
Yeah.
And it's important to note when you get tired of what they're doing.
Okay.
Because there are gigs when you lose your attention. And one of the problems is that an awful lot of singers, their songs all sound the same because they're following their comfort zone. And it's one of the things that really served me with theater training, which I got from Ewan McCall, was changing, expanding your comfort zone. Yeah. So that all your songs aren't, in major and 2/4 and lasting 3.5 minutes, accompanied by guitar, and about the same type of subject. So a 45-minute session is a long session. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I do find myself being quite aware when I'm picking my set lists of, I'm quite conscious of whether or not I feel like I'm playing too many songs back to back, which are too similar, and trying to kind of do that with your set instead.
Well, if you sit out there in the audience while you're up there on stage, if you can put yourself out in the audience and say, what kind of song do I think I would want to hear now if I was out there? and you might change your set list. You know,
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
audiences change. They can't just take whatever you decide unless you know exactly how to place it. And that takes an unfortunate amount of experience. You need to be at least 26 for that.
Oh well, couple of months time, I'll be back with that then.
Right.
So I was going to say, do you have any? If you could go back to when you were 25 in music, is there anything you would tell yourself then that you know now?
Lord.
I'm basically asking you to give me your wisdom. I think that's.
I didn't listen to enough people, and the problem was that I played good instruments, and I was living with a man who thought I was the bee's knees, and so I more or less did what I pleased.
Yeah.
I listened to recordings that I made back then, and I was singing so fast. I was just singing so fast. I was singing everything in rhythm, not pulse. There's a difference. Rhythm and pulse have different different parts in music. Awful lot of the songs that we listen to now that make it up to the top are just rhythm with that bloody backbeat on the drum. And you need, so I would go back and tell myself, look, remember what this song is really about. It's not about you playing the banjo. It's not about you being up there on stage with your husband. It's not about you. It's about song. And in a way, your song should be more than just about you and how you feel. People need help. Oh, bloody hell, I've done it again. I've got to stop playing. No, don't, never mind. I've got to stop playing with this bloody cursor. I run it all over the place. Yeah, I run it around your face. I run it around John's picture with his lovely Romanian lady. So youth is a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah.
But it is very, 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 very self-centered.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, in a time when we have climate change, we have Brexit, we have Black Lives Matter, we have COVID, we have all these things that involve things that we really need community songs about. And we need songs that somehow pull us together rather than tell everybody how angry we are personally.
And I suppose folk music has often done that, right? Folk music.
Oh, yes. Well, an awful lot of the folk music was made by people who couldn't read or write. Folk music was made simple because it had a lot of lessons in it. And a lot of stories were handed down that would not have been handed down in any other way because nobody could read or write. I mean, I'm talking about back in the 15, 16, 1700s. And in some communities in America, there are people who do not know how to read and write. There may be in Britain now people who don't know how to read and write. Yeah. So we need things right now. I think in a way, an artist owes to the community that has allowed them to be an artist.
Yeah.
And, you know, I take it that you're from a roughly middle class family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so am I. And we have a sense of entitlement that a lot of people don't. And we have a sense of who we are as individuals apart from we don't really have a middle class community. I don't think, really. We form little communities here, little communities there. But now, with so many huge issues that everybody is going to suffer from, I think trying to be of use to people other than yourself, how can you create songs? And that doesn't mean you have to go over to union songs or songs that everybody sings yeah, yeah, yeah to. I don't mean that. Songs that help us co-relate. One of the songs that I got the idea for, and then I wrote it with my son Callum, it's called Flowers by the Roadside. It began because I saw some flowers by the roadside in Oxford, and the woman has been putting flowers there. I'm assuming it's the mother, and obviously somebody died there, most likely a child. She's had flowers there, new flowers, every week for 8 years. And I've seen automobile accidents. I've seen road rage. And the song is very elliptical. It is very economical, which I would advise you to look at in your songs. Make them more economical. There's so many ideas in every line, and this line focuses us here, and that line focuses us over there, and this line focuses us there. So I'm trying to find out what is it she's really trying to say here. That you have to trust your audience and give them time to adapt sometimes. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm talking about me. So in Flowers by the Roadside, it has basically 2 verses. I hate the word basically. Yeah, that and the bottom line is, and absolutely. Yeah. So essentially giving them lines that they can remember how you said it. Now, I don't remember any of the lines in Wolf. I don't remember any of the lines in Traveling Man. And yet there are some excellent lines there, but they do not stand out because you haven't put them up against a background in which they are focused. And this is where working with someone else, you never know. My son focused me on this song, Flowers by the Roadside. And we made the first line, the first verse, in which somebody, most likely somebody on a motorcycle, most likely a young man, dies. And the cars are just passing by. And it's very short. It might do you good to just listen to it, see what I'm talking about. For economy. Because economy is, that's another thing I might not do, is write so many bloody words, songs with so many words, that you have to listen to them over and over and over and over to get the message. So the second verse is domestic abuse. That the same impulse that makes a lot of mostly men drive too fast, really badly, take risks, may be tied to the same thing that makes them commit domestic abuse. Now, it's both, it's very veiled, but it's very obvious that these 2 things are related. And correlating things in your song so that people can understand it. Wolf is, I'm saying this with my memory of what the song, Wolf has so many things in it, but they're not juxtaposed. They come whenever you feel like throwing them in. And there is so much in that. Now, it probably, who knows, it might become a bestseller. It might. So you don't need to even listen to what I'm saying, but these are things that I have learned, is not to use so many words.
I think I use too many words in life in general. I've always been gobby, I would describe myself. And I think being more economical with my words may benefit me in many ways.
Yeah, well, you've listened to me rabbiting on, so
No, it's good.
Anyway, working with someone whose work you like and that you learn from, it has helped me hugely. And my son, we just put this together, and just lines just came out, and I said, "No, Callum, that doesn't work." And he said, "No, Mom, that one didn't work. Let's try that here." And it is a totally economical song.
Okay.
And it's well worth listening to and maybe try to make one imitating this song, imitating that song, imitating this song. Recently, I made a song called "How I Long for Peace." It's only got five verses, and I just stole the tune from a folk song. And then I thought, no, that folk song has really good words. I'll make a tune that sounds like that. Learning from folk songs is a wonderful idea because people have sung them for years, and getting those earworms into people's ears, you know what an earworm is, getting that hook line, either melodically or in terms of But then I used to teach songwriting, so I'm doing a songwriting lesson here, and I didn't mean.
No, it's great.
Because you already write songs. Anyway, to answer your question, I would not sing so fast, and I would also work with other people. Because you and McCall, my partner, my husband, we never wrote together. We got ideas together, but we never wrote together.
Mm.
My present partner, I write together with her, and I write with my sons.
Mm.
So you can learn so much from other people.
Okay.
That's what I think I would do rather than doing the whole thing myself. But doing the whole thing myself has made it easier to be in lockdown, which gets us right back to your original question.
How's lockdown been? No, I think you're right, and that feels like a good closing circle for this.
Okay, well, I've given you too much. John, you didn't count on a whole life story, I think, did you?
But I think Jenny, this has been really, really good for me, because I think talking to someone like yourself about songwriting, and I've been considering trying to go down the collaboration side of things and working with other people, and I think this has cemented that idea that's a good thing to do. So I will go ahead and get busy doing that.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you so much for talking.
Well,
Really
it's been a pleasure talking to you.
learned a lot.
I'll kind of watch what happens to you.